Okay. So I made it here, and I see that some other folks made it here too. You're in the 7th and Tennyson discussion room, and I hope that's where you want to be. If that is not where you want to be, you can click leave room in the bottom right, and that'll take you back to our main room where they're talking about Perry, and you could move over to the other breakout room. So can everybody hear me okay? Yep, great.
Yes.
Okay. And I see it looks like, we have maybe, I don't know, 12 people or something. And, the intent of this is just kind of, I'm going to share the designs and maybe we just kind of start talking, but why don't we just all introduce ourselves quickly? I'll just call people out. So I'm Chris Vogelsang. I'm a consultant project manager that was leading the planning phase, and I'm kind of helping with the transition to the design phase. And Michelle, why don't you introduce yourself? Michelle Hansen.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Hansen. I'm with Stolvis and Associates, a consultant firm now working on the design of this phase of the project.
Awesome. Jeremy?
Yeah, Jeremy Kahn. I am actually a consultant, but working with the city as a staff augmentation representative, and then I'm helping lead the design here for West Denver Safer Streets.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeremy. And then I'll just kind of call him as I see him. Sean Brady. Hello.
This is Sean. I live at 8th and Tennyson, and I'm on the Mayor's Bicycle Advisory Board.
Great. Thanks for joining us, Sean. Kathy Sandoval.
Yeah, Kathy Sandoval. I live on 7th and Raleigh. I'm on the Villa Park Neighborhood Association board and have been on past different advisory groups. So I'm very interested and concerned about how this is going to play out.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. Andrew Cushion.
Hi there. I'm just a cyclist. I live on Colfax and Brain.
All right. Thanks for joining. Alan Cowgill.
Hi, my name is Alan Cogill. This is my daughter, Stella. Sorry for any distraction. I'm part of the Sloan's Lake Citizens Group. I live over on Newton Street, and I'm also on the DOTI Advisory Board appointed by Councilman Sandoval.
Thank you, Alan. Jonathan Pitoko.
You got it. Pretty good. My name is Jonathan. I live at the corner of Colfax and Newton. Also with Alan on the DOTI Advisory Board.
Awesome. Thanks, Jonathan. I see Anthony. It looks like Anthony Aragon to me.
Good evening. Yes, Anthony Aragon. I'm with the Office of Community and Business Engagement with the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure.
Thanks for joining, Anthony. Let's go Leah Rounds. Hi, Leah.
Hi, I'm Leah Rounds. I'm involved with the West Colfax Association of Neighbors. I live at Colfax in Utica, and my kids go to school at Colfax Elementary there.
Okay, thank you, Leah. Yeah, you're breaking a little bit, but I got that. I heard that your kids go to Colfax Elementary and you live in the neighborhood up there. Thanks for joining us. Then why don't I go to Amanda Mccorkle?
Hi, this is actually her husband, Wade Mccorkle.
Okay.
But yeah, we actually have a investment rental property close to 7th and Tennyson, and we obviously have a vested interest in seeing that community and neighborhood grow.
Thanks for joining us. Jason Collins.
Yeah, I'm living in that property that Wade was just talking about. So I'm right here on Tennyson.
Awesome, thanks. And I see someone, Alex, Aleks.
Yep, that's me. I'm a resident at 7th and Mead. Frequently walk, bike, and run in this area. So was interested to see what happens.
Awesome, thanks for joining. And Gary Sullivan.
Yes, I'm a Denver native and live at 16th and Tennyson.
Awesome, thank you for joining. Okay, so this is our time to spend together, and kind of we'll just figure out how to use that time together. Maybe the best thing to do is for me to share my screen and show you the Tennyson and 7th designs and how they are right now. And then we can go to any location in the corridor. We can talk about any specific place or just in general. So let me pull these up. Go. Go. It's happening. Share my screen. Okay, good. So what I'm pulling up here, this is the PDF takes a little while to render, but this is kind of what we call a roll plot. So this will show at this level, will show the whole corridor all the way from 7th all the way up. Okay, and so it's a little confusing at this level, but I'm gonna just kind of zoom in, and maybe I'll just start at 7th and kind of work our way up. Okay. And you'll see these also on the, when you go to the Conveo site, you'll see this exact information, these exact files. Okay, so what you're looking at here is, so this is 7th Avenue. Between, this is, between Perry and Tennyson, Stewart, Raleigh, and Quitman, and just showing how we're, this is the neighborhood bikeway piece that we talked about in the presentation, and just showing how we're intending to make speeds go slower. We have a neighborhood traffic circle shown being installed at Raleigh. We have paint and post bulb outs. That's kind of what you're seeing with these. Those little black dots are those vertical posts. And then we also have, if you've ever driven this, you'll notice we call them valley pans, but the drainage items at the intersections are also kind of steep. And so we think that provides slowing too. Mrs. Sandoval, I see your hand up.
Ms. Yeah.
Miss,
I was
thanks.
looking at that 7th and Raleigh where I'm located at, and I was wondering how large is that roundabout and what does it look like? I mean, you only have sort of the drawing on the
right.
Conveo, whatever it is.
Yeah, the
online
Conveo, right.
the Conveo. So I don't know what that means. It looks like a pretty good chunk of the intersection would be taken up.
Yeah. So what happens next? So I'll give you a kind of a high level answer. So we show the dimensions are shown here, right, on this. So how wide and long those are, and then the street dimensions. Those dimensions are set based on some engineering design guidance about how to slow speeds with still allowing Denver fire trucks and like kind of moving truck kind of things, single unit trucks to make these turns still. So that's from like looking from the air down, that's how those are set up so that cars have to slow down, but like Denver fire can still make those movements. And then in terms of what it looks like, I think back in our presentation, there was a photo. Was there? Yeah. Yeah, there was a photo. So I'll just pull this up. So right here, you can kind of see how they've been implemented so far. So they're really like striping. And then these kind of black, like rubberized curb items with some signing in the middle. That's how it's been implemented so far. And that would be what we'd expect.
Are there any opportunities for any kind of landscaping features?
Yeah, great question. So some cities have done that. The issue in Denver is we don't get a ton of rain, right? And so that's a maintenance issue. So I know that I think the intent is to start with sort of the basic traffic circle elements, and then make sure they work, that they're accepted by the neighbors, that there aren't any issues. And then, the next step would be, hey, can we make these more permanent? Can we do different things? And that would be, I think that would be when the landscaping piece would come into play, Kathy.
Yeah, I have seen them in other suburbs, same amount of rain, that we get here. So just was curious.
Yeah, great. And the other thing I wanted to bring up, we're talking about kind of a phased implementation. So one of the points of this program is to get a lot of things done quickly and less expensively, and then see how they work and adapt and adjust, and then make them more permanent, like more like concrete items at a later date. So
I just had one more follow-up question.
Sure.
Also, I noticed on 7th and Raleigh there where the fire hydrant is, I mean, there is people parking adjacent to it. And I gather that the red lines are to be not parking areas.
That's correct. Yes.
And so already where this red car is, I'm already crimped down from the sight triangle already. And this is just like adding to it. So I'm wondering if that can be shortened in any way so that we have parking. I don't have a garage. I have to park on the street.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, we when we looked at the parking on 7th, it wasn't that heavily parked, but maybe right in front of your house. Is this your home?
No, I'm to the right where the red car is, and we're always parked
Oh.
there. And I have
Oh,
people
here.
that park
Yeah.
along 7th Avenue. No,
Yeah, I see that red car. Oh, this red
South.
car. I'm sorry. Yeah, this red car, the other red car.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we can certainly we can talk through how to tighten these up. Right now, these are set based on kind of a standard 20 feet back from where the curve starts. You have no parking to create sight lines for the intersection, right?
We
So
already have
when-
that already, though.
Yeah, so if you leave us a comment in the well, I'll make a comment as well, Kathy. Okay, we'll write it down. I know we have Michelle's taking notes tonight too. But yeah, we can look at each of these corners and see if there's things we could do to make that a little shorter as we move into the next step of design. Okay, great. So unless there's other questions
I
on
got something
7th.
else about that
Sure.
circle. Do you know
Okay.
how that circle is going to work with the valley pans there? Since those are pretty aggressive, I can only imagine like how that would feel in a car, making those sharp turns and dipping into those valley pans, dipping out of them to try to make a turn, especially a left-hand turn.
Yeah, that's a great point. So it's a lot of adverse slope, right? You're changing slope as you go across. I do not know if the sorry, I honestly don't know if the design team that's taking this has thought of that. We'll make the comment about that and make sure that gets paid attention to and make sure that works.
Okay, cool.
Thank you for pointing that out.
I saw a car just this morning, 2 of them back to back, throwing sparks through those valley pans.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it happens. They're pretty deep.
Yeah, they are deep, which is good for slowing speeds and kind of bad for hitting the bottom of your car, right? Yes, I did want to let's see here. So then I want to go through. I did want to show. Let me show one more thing about 7th before we go on. Okay, I think it's on the Perry. So this is the Perry plot, and I'll zoom in a little and kind of go to the right where 7th is. So I did want to point out. I know the last time we met, we had shown kind of a raised median island on Perry that blocks 7th. And my computer, of course, is slow right now. I just wanted to show that we have, removed that from this design. We talked about it in the meeting, but so basically, when you come on Perry, so north is to the right of the screen. So this is more towards Sloan's Lake, and this is further away from Sloan's Lake. We've removed that median island so that emergency vehicles and all the comments that people had about being able to get across here and when there were incidents on 6th Avenue, that were made in place. Okay. So now let's talk
on that intersection now.
Sure.
Looking at the cars coming down Perry Street there, it's a pretty aggressive slope, and then trying to turn onto 7th. Just the cars coming down there for that right-hand turn. I feel like what is the bottom left-hand corner kind of curb extension there should probably just be removed to allow cars to kind of take that tighter turn.
This here.
The one right below that.
Oh, right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying that cars are going kind of fast downhill, and this is kind of a tight turn for them.
Yeah, and if we made that smaller, you'd probably end up having some crashes. If a car's waiting at that stop sign to cross over Perry from 7th.
Right. So there's a car or a bike sitting here, and there's a car heading north, wanting to take a right on 7th. Okay.
Can you show us a picture of what that looks like? Are you saying those are different pillars as well as striping?
Yeah, that was in this picture too. So they'll look somewhat something like this, right? So the striping with
deliberately
the
shrinking
flex
it.
posts. Yeah, and the intent is to like shorten up, make it tighter so the turning speeds are lower. Understand the topography issue there. But, and then to shorten the crossing distance for pedestrians too.
And kind of continue with that theme there is parking on the west side of the street
This is the west.
of Perry.
Yes. Right. So basically that's another point. So we have a 30-foot curb to curb width, right? That's how wide it is from like the face of curb to face of curb. Right now there is parking on, I believe, on the west side of Perry, parking allowed right here.
Right.
And not allowed. So this design, right, to make everything fit, parking is removed along Perry from between 7th and 6th. It is not impacted north of 7th. So north of 7th, everything stays how it is today. That's what the design shows right now.
Have you received any comments about that from the residents?
No, we didn't. I don't think we got a ton of comments about that in the last round. And so we'll try to, I know that the Perry main room, they're talking about all this stuff too. And hopefully folks that live here will be there to give input.
The downhill on this side it's an aggressive downhill coming through Perry. I see there's a bike lane on the downhill.
Yes,
I would just suggest merging traffic and bike coming down that, because bikes will be going traffic speeds coming down.
Yeah,
that
so
hill.
yeah, it's a good so if you I don't know if you were involved in the last round. That's what the design was at the last concept design. And we got a lot of comments from people that they weren't comfortable being in traffic there. Understand where you're coming from. And myself, as a little more experienced bicyclist, I don't have any problem with that either. We got a lot of comments from the folks that were trying to encourage that they weren't comfortable. And that's why we ended up putting bike lanes on both sides. So that would be a comment you could leave us in the on the website, and we can kind of keep considering how that goes forward. Okay, are there any
Can you share
Kathy,
this
or anyone
PDF?
else?
Can you share this PDF with us?
So this PDF is available at if somebody has the chat, I don't have that up, but could you type in well, here, I'll just do it. I can do it. So if you go to this address, I just put in the chat, that'll take you to all these PDFs are available right there. So then they're set in a scale where you can see them a little easier. Okay. Yeah, so please, I think that's one of the main things I want to get across to people. Please go there, take a look in the details. The comments you're giving me right now are really good. They're super detailed. That's exactly what we're looking for. Okay, so I'm going to start moving north and start talking about Tennyson. Okay, I'm going to start it at 7th and Tennyson. Sorry about that. So again, on your screen, north is to the right, right? So all the light rail and everything is kind of on the right edge, heading to the right, and 6th Avenue is to the left. So sometimes I can get disorienting. So Tennyson Street, actually, we had speeds that were a little higher than we'd like. We're trying to get those speeds down, and so we've implemented some traffic calming measures. These are called chicanes. I'm going to zoom in a little more closely so you can see. And to Kathy's point before, the red lines do show where parking would be prohibited. And so you'll see as we go through, there's pieces of Tennyson where parking is removed to install these traffic calming elements. So what the intent of this is that cars come and then have to sort of make an S maneuver, right? Or a C, and that slows their speeds down. So we were proposing to install a few of these. This is one of the locations, and we tried to set them up so that they wouldn't block driveways, right? So that we wouldn't have the medians in front of driveways and the chicane elements. As people go and look through those, please give us any detailed comments if we've missed something there. And then at the Lakewood Gulch Trail crossing, There is there's a crossing, the trail goes across today, but there aren't any markings or anything. And so we're proposing a raised median island, marked crosswalk and yield lines to really define that space and make that crossing safer. Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, by the way, if I don't see you, just go ahead and speak up, Jonathan. Sorry.
I only raised my hand like 3 seconds before you called on me.
Okay. All right.
So it wasn't a wait.
Okay.
Hey, just wanted to say these great chicanes. Like, I'd love to see this kind of work here. I'm wondering, this sort of relates to my comment on the last one too about the traffic circle. I'm now seeing and interpreting that the little black dots on the screen are representative of some sort of vertical element, like a flex post, something along those lines.
Yeah, that's right.
Wondering if for these chicanes, and particularly for the traffic circles on the other one, I didn't realize until we walked through one of those diagrams that the traffic circle painted triangles don't include any flex posts. And what I'm seeing on these chicanes is only flex posts in the center circle instead of anything nearer to the points of the chicane. What we're seeing on the 35th Avenue bikeway is that just the paint on the ground in the approach to the traffic circles is not changing any vehicular behavior as to how they approach the traffic circle and enter it. They'll stay mid-road and sort of like take a wider turn. Wondering if we could add some flex posts to those incoming triangles for the traffic circle and maybe some flex posts nearer to the points of these chicanes, again, so that people don't just, blow over the part that's supposed to be the narrowing effect.
Okay. Yeah, great comment. And sounds like you guys you've had some recent experience, like just watching operations of ones you've installed. So yeah, we'll take that. We'll put that comment down and take a look at that.
And Chris, one quick thing.
Sure, Jeremy.
Again, great comment. I think it really does come down to just discussion and coordination with Denver Fire, and just making sure that they can, if this is a prioritized route for one of their stations, just to make sure they can actually physically get through and they're not popping off the flex posts every time. But something we can definitely explore and then look at the geometry. So good comment.
This is one of the few through streets that go across the gulch, Tennyson and Perry. So it's important to have those clear.
Yeah, across Lakewood Drive, Gulch, yes. Yeah. Okay, that's a great point, Jeremy. We are coordinating with Denver Fire. That was a comment we had at last meeting about making sure response times were still, weren't impacted and that they could get where they need to go to save lives. So definitely on board with that. Okay, so I'll just kind of keep going north. So at the this is set up this way with always stops today and marked crosswalks. We are proposing to do curb bulb outs. You'll see that to Jonathan, to your point before about the raised, the black dots representing raised posts. You will see that, like when you look at some of these, they won't have the black dots in certain places. That's not a rendering error or a mistake. That's on purpose. The design team is running. They look at, like in the computer, they look at Denver Fire vehicle and certain vehicles like that, and make sure they can make the turn without hitting the posts. And if they can't make a turn, then the posts get removed, but the striping stays in place. So kind of to Jeremy's point last time. So they're looking at that level of detail at each intersection. Okay. Now here is
this intersection.
Go ahead.
At this intersection, I have a concern about the stop signs for going north and south.
Mm-hmm.
From experience living in this neighborhood, any bicycles that go down that hill blow through that intersection. I'm concerned if traffic on 9th is expecting a vehicle to stop, there might be an issue with that bicycle coming through the intersection. If we were to remove the north and south facing stop signs, at least it'd be the expectation that anything coming down 9th would look first.
Okay,
I disagree.
Yeah,
I think
Kathy.
it needs to have a stop sign. Man, that's a really steep grade. And if people don't stop there, they're just going to continue to go faster without a stop sign. At least it helps break the speed up a bit. And I think that's real important. Is the school crossing too. I mean, in a sense, it's access to a elementary school for kids that are living east in the park area, east going to Cal school. So they do need some of that protection too from the north-south traffic.
Right. So I get in terms of the bikes blowing through that, I'm sure they do because they don't want to slow down going downhill. But to Kathy's point, the reason this was implemented the way it is now is Denver's Safe Routes to School program, and they do always stops and mark crosswalks at those places. So that's the reason it's there. And we're trying to make it a little more obvious, I think, that you have to stop there by putting the curb bobots in and doing some things there. But we'll take another look. But Kathy, I think you make a great point. Then that's why that was designed the way it is today. This part I really want to highlight. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can see the extent of it. So Geneva mentioned it in the presentation, and I'll go see the northern half of this. But basically, we looked at the speeds here and the grades. So you can't really tell. You can't tell from the aerial, but where my hand is now is low, and this is going uphill to the north, and it gets really high. This is really steep. I think when I go downhill on this on my bike, I hit like 30. I go pretty fast. What people were worried about going uphill, when you're going up, you're going like 8 miles an hour or 9 or 10 miles an hour, and they're worried about car interactions and speed. So we looked at this, looked at the topography, looked at the data, and changed this design to include an uphill bicycle lane heading north towards the light rail. What that means is that parking on the east side of the street would all be removed. So we did do some parking studies here. There are, I think 30% of these spaces were utilized, so it wasn't like zero. So there will be some impacts there. And if you're on this call and live in this on the block between 9th and 10th, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Is there anyone here? Okay, well, we'll make sure we reach out to folks and try to get folks that live on this block so they know what we're proposing and what's coming, because we don't want people to be surprised.
How do you do that? Because a lot of times people don't have computers, know how to
Right.
even hook into Zoom. Are you going to send something to their personal residence that gives them
Right.
that map that shows them the information? Both on
So-
this and as well as I would say from 7th to 6th Avenue on Perry too.
Yes, thank you. So a couple things. So in advertising this meeting and the other meetings, we send out postcards. So every house along the corridor got a postcard, and hopefully they saw it and paid attention. We try to reach them that way. For places that have parking removal, there's a DOTI process where there's flyering. So they go door to door and flyer those houses and make them aware of what the plan is and what's coming, and make sure they know and get their input. So those things will happen as well in the coming, I don't know if in the coming months, but pretty soon there'll be flyering of places where parking is being removed to make sure people are aware. And then the third way is, through we're trying to reach out to the registered neighborhood organizations and community groups and things to make sure people are aware of the project and what's coming, as well as through city council. So we're really trying to reach folks, but I think, Kathy, that door-to-door flyering is probably the most effective to make sure people know.
Yeah, and we're at
And-
60% design. If that can be done earlier, I think that's most helpful, so that if there is objection, then we hear that before plans are cemented.
Yes, good point. Andrew?
I just want to say I love it. I'm really grateful. I oftentimes get off my bike and walk at times on like really steep hills if I get nervous about cars. And I always feel really embarrassed. Like I don't want to go do that same route again because, like I've held up somebody. So I'm really glad to be able to go up this street and not like hold anybody up, by going really slowly on my bike. So I was just really grateful to see this change and wanted to just say big heart love on
Okay.
that change.
Thanks for the input, Andrew. So yeah, if you live on the street, you might not be as excited about it. If you use it, definitely it's an improvement. So I'm gonna go, we just have, these are kind of broken because of the way we wanted to show them on the internet, but I'm gonna go up a little further And hopefully this will load up. There we go. Okay, so now that little line was kind of half the block. So this is the north half of that same by uphill climbing bike lane. And this is the intersection with 10th. Some changes here to try to get speeds down, get the turning speeds down, make this safer for pedestrians and a little easier for the bikes to make these sort of offset intersection moves. I'll zoom in a little. I see people kind of squinting there. Right. And so another thing I wanted to point out here, and I know hopefully I'm giving you enough detail, but not too much. So these little yellow, this little yellow area here, those are called corner cushions. So if you can imagine almost like a mini little raised speed hump in the corner that tries to keep drivers from like kind of trying to cut that corner faster and makes it a little uncomfortable. So they try to follow the path we want them to and the speeds we want them to turn at. So that's what these little yellow items are here. The black items are raised elements, and then we have the always stop condition.
And then was this I see that there's a note about future project. Is this like the I don't know if I'm gonna get this acronym right, NMTP? Is this is that I thought that this was an intersection flag for that?
Yeah, Andrew, that's yep, you've been involved in other processes. So it's the Neighborhood Traffic Management Program, NTMP, and they've looked at some of these areas too, and 10th being one of them. And so the crosswalk bars, these things in gray, they'll come through and install those, and the things in white are things that this project will go do. So it's just kind of a minor difference. Okay, I'm going to keep going north. So now we're on, this is that kind of little leg of Tennyson that connects to 11th. And we're trying to get to the path to get across the gulch, right, on the bridge. And so a couple changes here. Because of the way the bikes work here, we're making this an always stop, right? But stop bars, painted post bulbouts, all that. And then we're considering improving this ramp. If you ever get out there, you'll notice it catches a lot of debris and dirt. And so that's one of the things we're looking at as well, trying to make that so the drainage works better and it doesn't trap things. Okay, so I'll zoom out a little so we get a better picture. So now we get, on the path, we end up over the rail and over the gulch.
If you're talking about drainage, there's on that south side of the bridge right there, right as the bridge comes off and makes that left-hand turn, there is a lot of gravel that just piles up there. If I'm biking there, I have to slow down quite a bit so I don't crash.
Yeah, I think it comes I think people use this too, right? Because going around doesn't make people don't want to do that. But yeah, I think the water runs downhill here and brings debris. So that's a great point. We should note that and see if there's something we can do to make that better.
Cool, thanks.
One thought there would be stairs. Pedestrians are going to take that straight line, and that's what's causing the erosion, is all the damage to the soil.
Yeah, when I'm walking, I actually take there's like a little raised wall that I walk up on top so I don't touch any of the soil.
This piece here?
Yeah, I actually walk up that thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll make a note of maybe there's something we can do to keep the debris off, but the better solution would be to harden this and make this, make stairs work for the pedestrians so they don't have to go all the way around.
Yeah, this is also I love a lot of this, but this is where I get a little concerned, just because I oftentimes my safe bike to work is along the bridge and then down east on the gulch, and people walk their dogs, people are biking every which way. I think it's comfortable right now. I'm sort of excited by the challenge that there might be like more bikes than the bridge can handle in the future, because depending on the time of day. And actually the community, near where I live, I encountered there was like a big procession going on across the bridge, not that long ago. I felt really bad. I had to like brake really hard. Anyways, it's a pretty surprisingly narrow bridge, considering how fast, the routes around this lets you go. So I think in the future, like 10 years from now, if like this is a super successful, I know that this is like very outside the scope as soon as I said 10 years, but if it's very successful and a lot of people start to bike because it's much safer, I think we might kind of, it feels like you could hit a capacity issue with how small that bridge is for both pedestrians and also for the cyclists.
Okay, yeah, point noted. Yeah, today it's not too bad, right? But if we are successful how we want to be, this would be an area we might have to pay attention to. Yeah, I am going to I'm gonna wait for that to come up. I'm gonna message my my tech lead and just tell her that I think, we have till 7, and we originally, just set these as 45 minutes, but want to make sure she doesn't end our breakout room. So give me 1 second. We'll get in touch with her, and then while I'm doing that, we'll just kind of keep going. So now we're on the north side, and now we're into, different kind of street system, getting closer to Colfax. Everything gets a little different here. So here we go. Come on. So we're proposing here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and there's a couple things I want to point out. So we had speed cushions in the concept you saw before up here. And like Geneva said, the speed cushions were sort of piloting those, and Denver Fire isn't sure they're super happy with those yet and how they work. So we're working together to try to partner. But we're showing a raised islands and kind of chicane treatments in this place. Jonathan, do I see your hand raised?
Yeah, hey, just wanted to ask a bit of a clarifying question on the speed humps thing. I know a few years ago we were told it's not possible to install speed humps in Denver because they weren't part of like essentially part of our approved tool set. They then became approved as part of the complete streets approval
Right.
with these guidelines, and in fact became a recommended treatment for many of these roads for that. Given that that's like now the published rules, why are we backing off that, particularly given that we have shown speed humps are fine for fire trucks all around the nation? It's just getting frustrating that we keep getting told we can't have speed humps when it says in our rules we can have speed humps.
Yeah, it's totally frustrating. I think there was so I think the complete streets guidelines got approved and passed, and then I think Denver Fire was having not second thoughts, but they were worried about rolling out 1,000 of them across the city right away. They were advocating for sort of a measured process to start doing them, make sure they're comfortable. I understand what you're saying. Like they're installed in other jurisdictions, and their fire departments do fine with them. That's kind of where things are in terms of how Denver Department of Transportation and Infrastructure and Denver Fire are working together to try to move the ball on that.
Okay, I think there's one quick comment on that. I would just push back a little bit on the measured release. My understanding is we are only putting a few of them on one street for a year, and that's like far beyond a measured release. That's effectively no release on all our rides.
A trickled release.
Yeah.
It seems like these are much longer than what you might see as a speed bump. Is that some of the issues there? Or
So to Jonathan and to talk to Kathy's question. So the chicanes, like these median islands with the chicane elements, they are much longer, right? The speed cushion is kind of a short, it's just a point, like maybe 8 feet long. And actually in our design standards now, the speed cushions sort of allow parking, right? So there aren't as many parking impacts. So what we're hoping is that, to Jonathan's point, that we start to get to do more of these, because we think that they're pretty effective and we think that they have less impacts to the community. But these are the tools that we have available to us at this time. So that's why we've shown this. Okay. Yeah, I know that's not what everybody wants to hear, but that's the reality of, trying to implement this in the next year. Okay, so now I'm going to keep going and get up to hopefully. There we go. Okay, so where I've set us now, so 13th is just over where my hand is, and we're heading north still towards Colfax, okay? And then just kind of point out a few elements here. So this is 14th. This came up in our previous meeting and some meetings with the RNOs here. So 14th is a proposed neighborhood bikeway as well. And so we originally had a design here that showed like a diverter and different things, kind of a heavier treatment. As we went through comments and kind of looked at, pros and cons of those things, what we settled back with was an always stop with the curb extensions as the design treatment we're including right now. So I wanted everybody to see that. And, if there are folks on the call that were part of that discussion before, just love to hear your thoughts or reaction to that.
So I guess I was on all of these calls, and almost all the discussion I heard on these calls was people being annoyed that the diverter was being removed and people complaining that we don't have the 14th Avenue strip has been identified as a bikeway in plans for over a decade, and we don't have a funded project for it yet. So people were pretty enthused that we were at least getting the diverter here. I'm still not sure why the diverter's been removed, given we have constant drunk driving and like high speed accidents and crashes on this road to avoid when people try to race around Colfax.
Yeah, Jonathan, that definitely came up in all our previous discussions. I think we'll have to, I think, we're gonna have to circle back again. So I have to connect back with the designers and the and DOTI and get more specific info on like why exactly. So that's kind of where we were, I guess not what we were told, but like what we heard from folks were there. Some people were concerned about the diverter, some people really wanted it. And then we chose some consistent treatments with the idea that when 14th, and I understand it's been on the books for 10 years, when 14th is installed and it's not on our radar right now, right? It's not in the early implementation program, that would be a time when we'd relook at that. So that's how I understand it. But if you would give us, we'll write that comment down, and then we'll try to get some better answers for that. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to keep moving up here towards Colfax. We showed a little bit of this in the, so this is Colfax Elementary, and hopefully we still have Leah's still here, great. So this is Colfax Elementary. I'm going to zoom in a little. So what we try to do here, since we're crossing the intersection, we didn't have enough room to do bike lanes across on both sides. And so we picked the northbound side. And then on the southbound side, we have a shared roadway condition. So it's kind of a trade-off, kind of tied in with the Colfax pedestrian project improvements and the bulb outs that are being put in there. And then along Colfax Elementary, the idea here is we're going to remove on-street parking here, but we're going to retain passenger loading curb use. So we met with the school, got input from them about how important this is for pickup and drop off. In fact, folks come around Colfax here and take a right, and they kind of stack up here. And so what we're trying to do is let that activity still occur, but allow the bikes to get across the intersection and then take the street. Most times a day, there would not be cars here. It's just for loading. Okay, we mentioned these median islands at Conejos, right at the corner of the two schools to try to make this pedestrian crossing safer. The reason there's not a crosswalk shown here has to do with the curb ramps. So if you can see, there's a driveway here and a driveway here and curb ramp here, and there's no receiving curb ramp over here. And our program doesn't have money to do curb ramp improvements. And so we aren't showing that crossing today, but someday we would add that, and this would be a crossing as well. Andrew.
Just a quick comment on it's a surprisingly busy pedestrian intersection all the time at Conejos and Tennyson. because people are sort of, new folks are walking to the new attractions in the area. Folks who've lived there for a while are walking through to visit friends and family, on given nights of the week. Just at some point, I think it should definitely be a priority to make that a safer crosswalk for people. It's, it's not a high traffic street, frankly, but people do cross that street all the time. Conejos down, past Tennyson all the way to like Raleigh and Perry is really, really utilized.
Good. Understood, Andrew. Yeah, we definitely want a marked crosswalk here, but we aren't allowed to do that without that receiving. And so we'll put that in the list of improvements that we'd like to make. Okay, let's see here. Great. Okay, so I'll just keep going a little bit. I want to show you a change here. So we keep going north. Bulb outs and curb extensions. And then when we get to here, this gets a little confusing. Okay, great. Sorry. So when we get to 16th, at 16th is the place where we change. And so the reason that we're changing the original alignment you all saw last time, and I'll just kind of let's see if that shows it. Let me pull up my Google Maps and just give you a sense of why we did this. So now north is up, of course. Okay. There we go. Sorry for hope nobody got dizzy. Okay, so before we came, we were just talking about the schools here, and we came straight up Tennyson to 17th. And this intersection of 17th and Tennyson doesn't have stop signs for 17th, and doesn't have a good way to get into the park. We talked to Parks about trying to put maybe a path connection. That's on their list of things they'd like to do, but it's not something they're going to do immediately. And then we also talked with traffic operations about trying to make this an always stop. Both of those were sort of bigger asks than we felt like we could achieve right now. And so if you're a confident cyclist, you're welcome to keep going up Tennyson and access the 17th Avenue bikeway system. But way we're going to sign for people that are less confident, we're going to have them come over on 16th and then up on Utica. Okay. And the reason for that really is about this intersection. So we have a good connection to the park, to and from the park. We have an always stop condition. And so we felt like it was a much safer place to get the interested but concerned cyclists up and make that connection. So I just wanted to show that about the why. And then I want to show, I want to show the how. Okay. So this is again, the schools here, Colfax Elementary, there's Conejos. So if you're heading north, you would get to 16th Avenue. There'll be signing to tell you to take a left. So you'll take a left here. The volumes are pretty low and speeds are low, so we're not too concerned about that. Then you travel on 16th. And then I'm going to take you to this, sorry. So this is 16th, same kind of spot we were just at, right? So Tennyson is just down here at the bottom of your screen. You come up and this is the same, Kathy, that we talked about, the raised traffic circle here. So same kind of implementation, same kind of impacts at the corners, a little different dimensions because we have little different street widths coming. And then bikes would turn right and then head up Utica and then access 17th in the park right here. So I see some, do folks have their hands raised? I'm sorry.
I do.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Yeah, Chris, could you go back to 16th and Tennyson?
Yeah, sure.
I was wondering if you all had considered putting in a stop sign there to make it easier for kids to cross from the high school, that private high school there on the east side of the road over to 16th Avenue, and also make it a little easier since it is still kind of a blind spot. Yeah.
Yeah. We looked at that at a high level. I think that's something that we should look at a little more closely, Alan. So appreciate the comment. I think the way this works right now is the same kind of ramp situation. I believe that there's a curb ramp here to connect those together. So we'll take that under advisement and take a look at an all-way stop here to try to improve safety for crossing over to the schools.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Does someone else have their hand raised?
Yeah, Chris, are you proposing ballards and painted posts right there at the corner of 16th and Tennyson?
Yeah, so I think I just kind of lead you through this again. So what the symbols mean here, the little black dots are raised posts, right? Those flex posts. The white stuff is actual striping, and the red are areas where parking would be removed to daylight the intersection and make the visibility safer. And I did mention before, if you see like in here, you'll see that there aren't black dots all the way to the corner. That's because of fire truck turning requirements that we're looking at, where we don't want those raised elements that the fire trucks would have to run over to make that work. So I answered the what is it? Did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, well, I live right at that corner, and I just
Okay.
don't see the kind of traffic or the bike flow that everybody is talking about.
Gotcha. So you're thinking that in this part of Tennyson is pretty, the speeds are low and the volumes are low?
Yeah, and the turn up 16th, I mean, to narrow that with those ballards right there, we just don't get that much traffic, and we just don't see that much bike traffic. Sorry to all the bikers out there, but I live there and I can see what goes on all the time.
Got you, Gary. Thanks for the input. I think what we're hoping is that we'll see more bikers, right? And I get that, you definitely don't see that many, definitely on 16th, right? Yeah, nobody would really bike there today. Probably see a few on Tennyson, not that many. And we're hoping to change that. And I think we'll take a look at that and take an advisement. I think to Alan's point too, there are some pedestrian movements here that we want to make sure, and these really help shorten those crossing distances. So I think it's a balance of what we want to do for safety, and then maybe what we need to do if the volumes and speeds are pretty low. Okay, thanks for that. I know it's 6:56. I want to just open it up. So we just went through the corridor. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second so we can all see each other a little better. And is there anything anybody wants to chat about just in general? Andrew, I saw you did this.
Yeah, just another real quick compliment. I'm just glad. I typically run up 16th, or not 16th, sorry, up Utica, and then I'll take a right on 16th with my dog. And because the sidewalks are small, I'll run in the street often. So I'm very glad to see a little bit of traffic calming done via the circle, and then just glad to see it, and wanted to make another positive comment. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Andrew. We have 3 minutes. I think if there were one more comment, Kathy, I see you have your hand raised.
I was just wondering, again, in the main room, I was wondering if the Utica to the Sloan's Lake area looks like it feeds into the parking lot. And I think there is some real concerted effort that needs to be looked at in regards to how bikes are intersecting with pedestrians in Sloan's Lake. And that this plan needs to be conscious of how it feeds into that, because there's a lot of people walking around that walkway. And I think there is conflict between the speeds of bikes and pedestrians walking. So if there's any way to make it more part of the roadway connection versus the walkway, I think that would be an improvement. And so I don't know if that's the best place to spill into it. I noticed that Raleigh is also another possible alternative too, where I can see it going into with signal lights across Colfax, stop signs at 17th and Raleigh. So there's already some natural traffic stops and traffic goes in that area that might help to deal with safety already that exists. So maybe having to consider that as well.
Thanks for the input, Kathy. Hey, in the minute we have left, first of all, I want to say thank you to everyone for attending, spending an hour and a half of your evening with me. I really appreciate the input. I'm leaving this slide up. this is where you go to give comments on the exact pictures I just showed you. So you can give me detailed comments. They're due by December 19th. Other ways you can get in touch, bikes@denvergov.org. We can go to our project website at bit.ly/West Denver Safer Streets. You can call our project hotline, 720-865-WEST. And our schedule, we're hoping to finish final design in 2022 and construct in fall 2022 to 2023. So once again, thank you so much for your participation and your patience. If you go, this room will probably end in a few seconds. If you want to, you can, I think, click at the bottom and it says leave room, and then click leave meeting. And we'll talk again soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.